these schools couldn't tell me nothing. I was a prefect, and I rock up with a tongue ring one day, and they're like, "Oh, what happened to Lex?"
Lex Lafoy, how you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm so good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
Sludge Underground.
Thank you so much for coming, man. Thank you so much. I'm excited to have this conversation. And we're having this conversation from the Playhouse. Shout out to Lex. Shout out to Lex for bringing us to the Playhouse today.
They were really good to me in the month of August. You know, I was performing with my all-female band.
Okay.
In fact, we opened the SA Women's Art Festival on the 11th of August.
Yeah.
And then the next day, I was part of a mental health conversation, community conversation. So, yeah, shout out to the Playhouse.
The Playhouse, man. Durban, Playhouse. This is the place to be. Shout out to them for that. Shout out to them for that. I'm excited, but before we get to the music, I really want us to go back to a place where Lex is a little girl with dreams.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Take us to that time when you were a child. What brought you close to music? And what was the influence at that time for you?
What a beautiful question. So as a child, I grew up in a very idyllic home. I was raised with my mom, my grandparents, my aunt and uncle in a beautiful place in the south of Durban called Treasure Beach. And it's like between the Bluff and Wentworth type thing. Like if people know Wentworth, there's a hill and then the other side of the hill facing the ocean is Treasure Beach. So, man, I had a very beautiful childhood. My grandfather is a pastor and community leader. And so through his sacrifices and his commitment to his purpose as a pastor and community leader, he was able to take the family, because he came here from Kimberley and he came from, poverty and just struggle, but his commitment to his purpose helped put our family on a better standing. So really, I'm here by the grace and the blessings that were invested, by my grandfather, 2 generations before. And so we grew up in this big, beautiful house that my grandfather built with his own hands, I had a lot of time to imagine and visualize and play as an only kid for like 9 years before my mom got married and had, more kids. Those are my brothers. So I spent a lot of time alone. I even had an imaginary friend growing up. But I would just visualize and play. And then as a teenager, I'd spend a lot of time on my own as well in my room, listening to music, writing, creating dance rehearsals, just like visualizing this life that I knew I wanted to live.
So with you, at that time, visualizing, obviously listening to a lot of music, what was the influence? What was the type of music that you were listening to and the artists that you saw yourself kind of being like?
Well, I guess as a kid at the time, the music I was exposed to would have been by the adults around me at first, and then later my own choosing. But hip-hop played a big role, definitely. I mean, my mom loves hip-hop.
Shout out to hip-hop. Shout out to moms.
The other day, my younger brother was blasting some UK drill, and my mom says, "What rubbish is this? If you're gonna play rap, at least play Tupac." And I'm like, damn, okay. So my mom she's solid. I'd say from my mom, hip hop, some conscious hip hop, and then from my aunts and my wider family, I had a lot of alternative influence, and of course through my mom also alternative, like Alanis Morissette, Red Hot Chili Peppers, and then Lauryn Hill, Jay-Z. As I grew, I got more exposed to the urban and the hip hop side of things. So I have a mixed influence growing up, from rock to pop to hip hop. That's basically me. Yeah.
It's unusual, which is dope. It's unusual to have like a parent in hip hop, who's a fan of hip hop.
I think like my mom's story is quite interesting too, because she was a young adult in the 80s when the way she explained things, there was a lot of political tension. There were marches, there were protests, there was, we've heard the stories, tires burning and shit, So I think for adults growing up in that time, the hip hop at the time was very resonant of the socio-political struggle. And so I guess as a young woke person of color, I guess my mom just naturally resonated with that voice, the hip hop voice at the time.
Especially if it's a Tupac.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Tupac was that conscious. And I can understand. I can understand moms going into that. Yeah. Okay, so now you grow up into deciding to actually not be only a fan of this thing, but try it out. When is this?
So here's the thing, right, Lunati? I started writing the moment I became literate. So my mom said that before I used to just freestyle and sing. Yeah. So when I learned how to write, I started writing poems, songs, short stories, all these things. So I'm a writer, which is the central tool that enables me to do every other thing that I do. So I create content, I create film, I, creative project management, community development specialist. All these things that I'm able to do for me is understanding that in the process of creation, it's going to start with the idea, I'm going to write it down, and I'm going to action it. So that's basically the recipe. I started writing as a child, and when I was in grade 10 at Northlands,
shout out to Northlands.
Shout out Northlands. I started rebelling because I was exposed to hip hop more and more. And by the time I got into matric, I was a full-blown hip-hop head. Like, these schools couldn't tell me nothing. I was a prefect, and I rock up with a tongue ring one day, and they're like, "Oh, what happened to Legs?" Ashley. What happened to Ashley? She used to be a good girl. Meantime, Abaya's good to hip-hop.
The hip-hop bug is bit.
So, between grade 10 and in fact, grade 10, I started clubbing. I love dancing. Yeah. So I started going to the clubs so that I could dance. Yeah. And that was before Abo, Dira and Socks had blown up. Yeah. That was when they used to do their live MCing over the beats in the hip hop section at Tilt. Okay. That was like way back then.
That's way back. For sure.
Before they recorded their stuff, and like the things they shout out on the tracks, they used to just do that in the club, in the VIP section. So that was my first time really exposed to the music industry through the clubs and dancing. And then I just fell in love with Lauryn Hill and Jay-Z's The Blueprint one. We'd go to the clubs, I'd rap along to it. At home I'd be recording songs, writing the lyrics, writing my own lyrics. I was just submerged in this world of music and hip hop, because I felt I aligned with it. And then in matric, when I went on Durban Youth Radio for the first time, and I went to the Hip Hop Ingaba sessions at the Bat Center for the first time. I then discovered there's a local scene, so it brought it home now. It was no longer just on the radio or on the TV. It was like, oh, these are the homies now, So that just, I loved that moment. We'd attend these monthly sessions, we'd be freestyling, battling, all elements hip hop. It gave someone like me, it gave a creative a sense of belonging, because at home a lot of us creatives are not understood. But when we come together with other creatives, it just fuels that fire,
Yeah, definitely.
So I'd say in matric in matric, it was the first time I went on stage. It was the first time, well, I was doing poetry before then, and I won like national competitions and stuff, but like in matric was the first time I performed hip-hop, and I recorded hip-hop, and I was in cyphers, and I was battling, and I was all in it. And I was eating the I won't say the word, but I was eating all of them.
Yeah, I can say it. You were eating the niggas. Huh? You were eating
me
them.
And they call us the eaters. And then I had my rap crew, the Red Hillers, as well. There was the battle crew. They were calling us the eaters. And then there was my home crew, the Red Hillers. And there was just a lot happening. And it taught me the cultural side of hip-hop, you know, which I think a lot of the young people today miss out on, because everything is so digital.
Yes.
And they know the music side, but not necessarily the cultural side.
Exactly.
You know? So for me, who's raised on the cultural side of hip-hop, things like community development, it all falls within that. You know, like, because we looked up to rappers like Abo, KRS-One, and then in SA there's Emil XY from Brasa Van Nikap, and these are hip-hop pioneers and legends who, through the culture, have shown that when we really elevate, we elevate with our communities.
Yes.
It's not about individuals. I mean, Jay-Z even knows that.
Yeah,
you know, when the reason Jay-Z is a billionaire is because he understood that in order for us to win, we have to win at large.
Yeah. I'm so glad you touched on that. I'm so glad. Okay, as someone who now is in Durban doing music, I want you to compare the times. At that time, having that cultural thing now, compare it to the day we are in right now.
Yeah.
Would you say we lost it in Durban? Would you say, where would you say what happened?
Yeah.
What happened? Because if I were to personally say it, I don't think we are as united as we should.
Yeah.
Going to the unity we're talking about of the culture. I don't think we are.
Yeah.
So as someone who's been in the culture like that for so many years, what do you think happened? Where did we lose it?
I think there's a couple of things that have contributed to that. Like in my own journey, I chose to go to Joburg when I finished my degree, and I was there for like 7 years, you know. And then I came back home the day before COVID. But for me at that time, I felt that there were things I needed to learn that I wasn't going to learn here. There was experience and network and growth and expansion that I required as a human being on a journey to self-actualization that I knew my then environment was not going to give me, you know. And it came with sacrifices because I had to leave my daughter, you know. So that's me in my personal thing. But when I look at the collective, there's a lot of things that have contributed to it. One of those things being, you know, digitalization. Yeah. You know, because now there's far less opportunity for us to meet in person on the street corners or at the park, like how we used to as rappers, you know. Secondly, the transition from like young adults or teenager to adult. You know, nobody teaches you as a creative how to make that transition and still be loyal to who you are and be a successful human being, mom, parents. You know what I'm saying?
I get you.
Nobody teaches you that. Yeah. So like we find a lot of creatives or rappers in their 30s and 40s who have not yet found where their creative skill fits into the corporate world and are losing out on on corporate money and corporate benefits because they lack corporate ethics. So what people need to understand is that in order to earn corporate money, you have to have corporate work ethics. And as much as people can look down on a rapper or an artist for working at another job, the truth is that other job is going to teach you professional skills that sitting at home is not going to teach you. You know? Right. So, Mina, I'm humble. I'm humble as F, bruh. Can I say fuck?
Fuck, yes.
I'm humble as fuck.
Yeah.
In that I understand I might be a leader in a certain lane, but in order for me to be a leader in a certain lane, I also have to be a student in other lanes. You know?
Yeah.
So working for other people, I worked at the Living Room, Maboneng in Joburg. I've worked as an online English teacher. I've worked for an NPO doing youth development. I'm about to finish a contract where I'm a project manager for a creative agency in Cape Town. That was a dream come true. But what I'm saying is like, we mustn't be afraid to work. You see, like, Ogogo Nabomkulu, they were not afraid to work. Dude. Like, they didn't have this thing of, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
You know? Because the truth is, whatever job you get into, it's going to teach you something for your next job.
Exactly.
And if you have a focus on creating money out of something you love, you're going to have to collect all these corporate work ethics and experience to apply that to your passion anyway.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that people don't teach us as creatives growing up from teenagers into adults, is where do I fit as a creative in the corporate world?
Yeah.
You know, so that for me, I think keeps a lot of us separated at the moment, because everyone's just trying to survive.
Yeah.
Everyone's trying to live, you know, and then at the end of the day, it's like, where do I even have time to do what I love and to make my art and make my music when I'm trying to live?
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of things, man. We need unity. We need individual personal growth. We need maturity. We can't be walking around with the backpacker mindset in 2023.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Dude, yeah.
Yo, Lex is preaching. Like I feel you because I think that's been a conversation I've had with a lot of people as well, that if you have a dream, in order for it to work, you have to work.
Exactly.
Because it's gonna start with you outsourcing the money to even invest in this thing for it to grow.
That's what I do, Mina, as an independent artist. I have to make the money to invest in my art.
Exactly. That's how you grow.
Exactly.
You can't just, like you said, you can't have like a backpacker mindset 2023 just hoping that this thing is gonna work out.
Yeah.
Hoping alone is just not gonna.
We can't afford to hope.
Yeah, exactly.
At this point,
in this economy, in this time we're in anything that is right now.
The Bible says faith without works is dead.
You know,
like you can't just hope, or you can't just have faith. You have to work at it.
I want you to tell us about the type of music. Okay, before we get into the music you have now, the type of music you made, like. That you last dropped and into the one that you're about to drop now.
Okay.
I want to know the process.
Yeah.
I want to know the style, the change, the influence, anything from the time you were doing music that you dropped previously to the music we're going into now.
I'm gonna do my best to talk about all that in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So the project I'm releasing is my 7th body of work.
Okay.
So my very first body of work, in fact my first single was From the Head in 2012 with the Nut Scratches, this really dope dubstep sounding jam that got the attention of Red Bull, and just like, oh man, I was part of the Red Bull base camp, and it opened so many doors for me. So shout outs to the Nut Scratches.
Shout out.
My first, let's see, I don't know if I count Lexicon, but like the very first thing I released was Sketches in the Mind as Lexicon. I then released in 2014, when I was on tour in Europe with my DJ Duap, I released the Purple Velvet pre-release mix.
Yeah.
Then in 2016, I released the Hlanganisa mixtape. Then in 2017, I released my first album, Honey Bass. Then 2019, I released 22, the EP. Then in 2021, I released New World Order. my album, and now I'm releasing the 7th project, which is the Lexicon 2.0 project. So you start where you finish. So it's like coming full circle.
Yeah.
It's been a journey. I can cry. It's been insane. And each project has its own story.
Yeah.
And then I released a single now on Africa Day called Welcome Azania. You know, that was really dope because the artists that I work with on there, I met at the Music Imbizo last year, where I also work. I work with the Music Imbizo.
Yeah.
And I was so blessed to meet amazing artists from Cameroon and from Zimbabwe. And we did this really dope drill sounding song.
Yeah.
And the Lexicon 2.0 project, my God. So the music was created over 10 years ago on this album. And I was signed to an independent label at the time, myself and the lead producer, San Thurman, in Joburg. And we had a contractual fallout because the people we were signed to also had full-time jobs and they were not keeping to schedules. And we got to a point where it was very frustrating.
Yeah.
So I decided to leave. And I had to leave the music behind, or else they said I must pay something like 50,000 to cover the studio expenses. And of course, at the time I was hustling hard. Right? Like, you talk 50K to me in 2012, I'm like, what? You know?
Yeah.
And I cried like daily. I tried to get legal help. I would be at Samro with this lady Lynette. She became like an aunt to me, Lynette. I would just be like, you know, at her office daily trying to find a solution to getting the music back, because we had given the music so much of ourselves. We knew that on the other side of this music's release are so many dope blessings, and to feel that way, like to feel stifled by a release was just so painful, you know. And so when I look back, I realized that even the turn that I made creatively was almost like a trauma response, if I can say that, because musically. Because the Lexicon 2.0 project is composed mostly of unreleased music. And then there's a few songs that were on my Sketches in the Mind mixtape, but it wasn't released digitally, so technically it is unreleased music that is about to be released. And it's raw. There's punk, there's rock, there's R&B, there's boom bap, you know, and it's the phase between when I was leaving Lexicon as a persona and a name and entering Lex Lafoy, which is the more commercially viable, commercially appealing part of myself as an artist. And if I can say, this album has been intentionally created. I mean, before I came up to Joburg, I was on the phone almost every day with San Thurman, and we were talking about the type of music we wanted to create. We were creating the energy for the music to manifest into, you know, and it's beautiful. The music is beautiful. And if I can tell you, Lunati, this album has faced so many challenges, but we know that with huge blessings come huge challenges, you know. Definitely. I mean, even just finishing the album, we got to a certain point where the people I paid to mix and master, they just refused to finish last week, bruh. Even after we paid them, you know, they just refused. And I was like, oh, you know. And now we're literally running around. Thank God for Manelisi and Marline, you know, at I Support Music, that are allowing us these last few days to just finish the things that we need to touch up on before we feel, me and San Thurman, the lead producer, before we feel happy with it. Because it's coming full circle for me, you know. The number 7 is holy. I feel that we need to give the music the respect and the time and the energy it deserves. And for me, what this process has shown me is that anybody who's not working on this project with the same heart and passion and excellence must fall away.
Yeah.
Those homies must fall away. And I thank them. I thank everyone for being part of this project that has been part of it. I mean, there's so many people that have been part of it. Leah Butler jumped on last minute when Moonchild said she doesn't want her vocals on there.
Yeah.
Ruby Gold, because Moonchild's vocals were on the original, two of the original songs, you know, but I respect that. She said it's no longer the sound that she's going for right now, and I respect that. So Leah Butler had to jump on last minute. Ruby Gold had to jump on last minute. Zandra, who is a rapper but hasn't been active for a long time because she's also a nurse. She's on the project. Ifani's on the project. Bongani Fasi's on the project. We got a keyboard player by the name of Blessing Biandu, who's also on the project last minute because we discovered the original keys were not there. So so you know, it's been a fixing game. And
you know, I see the glow in your face when you speak about this project. I see the emotion. I see, it's almost like the experience is in display right now. So I'm really like looking forward to listening, or I'm looking forward to hearing what you guys have cooked, what you guys are here to offer us. Hopefully it births whatever you guys desire as far as the result of this project. I hope it will give whatever manifestation that you guys are manifesting right now.
Thank you.
And everything you've wanted to happen in the past few years with the challenges that you guys have faced with it.
Thank you.
This is beautiful. This is beautiful. When you were doing the project, in close, I think we're about to close now.
Okay.
But when you were doing the project, did you have a specific sound that you were going for, or was it just a mixture of different? Or that was intentional to have a mixture of different elements and different genres?
It was a very organic process. I was led by the sounds that my lead producer Sam Thurman created.
Yeah.
You know, and he'd come to me and he'd say, Lex, I can hear you on this.
Yeah.
And also there's three ways that I create songs. The first is I get the beats first.
Yeah.
The second way is I write the lyrics first, and the third way is it'll be a mixture of both. Like we're co-creating together, you know. And even when I listen to the project, there's a lot of the rawness of Lexicon that is coming out in the project. And I feel like, I was just saying to San the other day, I don't think there's a better time for this music to come out. I mean, one of the songs is called Electro Be My Cult. Weird name, I know. But like the chorus is like, give me my culture back, give me my culture back. And it's speaking about the hip hop culture, you know. And it's raw, it's beautiful, it's honest. It might be offensive, and even that for me is a highlight, because in today's day and age, people are trying to play it safe too much.
Yeah.
You know, and I believe we need to speak our truth more.
Yeah.
I don't think we should quieten ourselves for the sake of being afraid.
Yeah.
You know, there's no better time to speak your truth than right now. And so for me, this album is a huge part of my truth and my story that deserves to be heard and felt.
Yeah, man, that's dope. Tell us, or tell the people, where to get a hold of you, where to follow you, where to book you, how to book you, where they can find your music as well, like to before maybe listening to the project that's about to come. If they want to like go back to the music you have, where do they find it?
You can reach me at Lex Lafoy. That's everywhere on the socials. I mean, if they need to email me, they can email me at lexlafoypr for public relations at gmail.com. And yeah, that's it.
Okay, man. I hope to have you back on Sludge, because I feel like there's so many other things we have to talk about.
Yeah.
Like, you have such a great, diverse story.
Thank you.
We need a part 2, definitely.
Thank you so much.
I look forward to that happening. And yeah, this has been a dope episode. This has been a dope chat. Thank you for coming. Thank you for taking the time and really just talking to us. And yeah, we're waiting for the music. We're excited for the music. We're excited to see what the future has in store for you and everyone that you are working with. And obviously, to follow us, we are at Sludge031 on Twitter, Sludge Underground on Instagram, Sludge Underground Podcast on Facebook, and I think on TikTok as well. And the episode you will find on our website, www.sludgeunderground.com. And yeah, we are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We're there as well. Just keep it logged on the pages. And yeah, if you want to follow me individually, I am at Lunati_drops on everything. _ and the Lunati has a double I. And on Facebook, I am Andile Lunati Pila Matwanzi.
And thank you so much, by the way, to Sludge Underground. Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity.
Man, we are honored. We are honored to have you. Thank you for giving us your time. And yeah, like I said, we hope to have you back again. Yeah, just like that, man. We are out.
Yo, Vic, you got one, pa.
Tell you I'm living, I'm inside, I'm within, I'm with it. What you seen just been a window. This IRL on a gimbal. God loves me, it's so simple. I was selfish, I in the minerals. Had to get out, my mind was a prison. Felt like a zombie till I'd arisen. The money I grow it, I vomit, I tell it. Don't get it twisted, I'm all red hella. Born in the south, that's summer and winter. Fully rounded, a perfect center. We cover ground, meter by meter. I wouldn't plan it, but if I meter, I meter. Big girl tanks, seater to seater. What you need, all the interns see to it. Can you get that for them? You've always known now it's more than just a rap. They say never judge a whole party by its tappers. I'm trying to focus all these pretty buzz distractions, especially those of you out here looking so dapper.